Good evening to you. I am Ryan Broom with the CBC Evening News for the last day of February 2018. In our top story, we turn to the upper chamber or the Senate. Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, Senator Darcy Boyce, says there are still companies that express confidence in the Barbadian economy. His comments came as a debate on a resolution that Parliament approved the borrowing of the sum of $13.925 million on the international capital markets by the issue of securities arranged by the Ansa Merchant Bank Limited with Consolidated Finance Company Limited and the establishment of a sinking fund moved in the Senate. Senator Boyce notes Barbados was able to have the loan refinanced without any difficulty.
Ansa McCall and Consolidated Finance have kept very close ties with the Barbados economy. They've kept on top of the situation, and so they know the economy very well, and this is a manifestation of their knowledge of the economy, that they do not share the view that all is dark, all is lost when it comes to the economy.
Senator Boyce says it's important Barbados moves to revive its sugar industry as U.S. rum producers boost production.
Those producers began to buy up the molasses available, particularly out of the Dominican Republic, and very considerable volumes, which meant that the supply of imported molasses was also itself becoming a little tricky. And so the view in Barbados has been that we need to make sure that we can revive the sugarcane industry in order that we can get the molasses that we need for that rum industry, which earns such foreign exchange.
Meanwhile, Minister of State in the Prime Minister's office, Senator Patrick Todd, dismissed suggestions the sugar industry under the present administration is in question.
We have, since assuming office in 2008, moved steadfastly as an administration to support the diversification and the strengthening of the sugarcane industry. As Senator Boyce mentioned, we are looking at the construction of a multi-use sugar factory, which would, as in the past, just produce cane sugar to be exported in bulk at a lower price than if we to the EU or other foreign territories. Rather, you're looking at specialty sugars.
Barbados has practically been giving away sugar over the years. That's what Senator Sir Henry Fraser believes the country has been doing by selling its sugar in bulk.
Some years ago, I did this calculation on first joining the Senate and discussing the estimates related to agriculture some 6 years ago. And I looked at the cost of the sugar price that we were getting per ton in those days, and I compared it with the cost of the sugar price we would be likely to be getting it if we were packaging it in small consumable packages. And it was something like a 30-fold difference in price per kilogram. So we have been giving that away.
Barbados could save millions of dollars in foreign exchange if more emphasis was placed on the agriculture industry. The suggestion is coming from Senator Alwyn Adams.
If we were to just consider that we are importing some $700 million of foodstuffs into this country, and a very huge import fuel bill, if we were to be able, within a specified time, to even have those, the foreign exchange savings would be extremely considerable. And the savings of that foreign exchange and other monies could then be invested into other parts of the economy.
Senator Adams says stimulating the agriculture industry could also attract young people who are the future of the sector.
We could have young people grouping together in cooperatives, 10 at a time and so on, operating small relatively small manageable plots of land. And this, Madam President, would be able to involve our young people, particularly in the countryside. We could even bring some from around Bridgetown and have them involved in agriculture. And as a result, they would be able to earn a living, the unemployment would come down, and a lot of the social problems in Barbados would also be lessened.
In other news now, Prime Minister Frundle Stewart has voiced his displeasure with the fact that to date, only 4 CARICOM member states have the Caribbean Court of Justice, or CCJ, as their appellate jurisdiction. Speaking during the closure of the 29th intersessional meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of CARICOM in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, Prime Minister Stewart stressed that this is totally unacceptable and a disgrace that after the CCJ has been in existence for so long, that only four countries have signed on. He noted that he did not buy the argument that there is a division of opinion in the countries that have not signed on to the court in its appellate jurisdiction, because according to him, the biggest decision that CARICOM countries have had to make has been on independence. Belize, Dominica, and Guyana are the other CARICOM member states which have the CCJ as their appellate jurisdiction. The Prime Minister expressed optimism that the matter would be addressed at the next CARICOM summit in July, and that more definitive answers would be taken on what steps member states propose to take to correct the situation. Well, we take a pause here and we'll be back with more news shortly. Welcome back. Well, after more than a decade of crumbling roads, residents in a Haggett Hall community are finally getting some help. And the political hopeful behind the initiative says it has nothing to do with the upcoming general election. Kareem Smith has the story.
Just in time for the upcoming hurricane season, residents of Plumtree Road, Haggett Hall will be relieved of an infrastructural plight which has plagued them for over 14 years. Democratic Labour Party candidate for St. Michael Southeast, Rodney Grant, made the pledge as work got underway to fix the pothole-riddled residential road. Mr. Grant says it's the fulfillment of a commitment made to constituents when he was nominated in April last year.
Buses actually use these 2 roads as well. So, you know, we just want to assure the residents of these 2 roads that we are on the job, that for sure these 2 roads we would at least try to make progress in haste before the hurricane season actually comes into play later on in May, June, because we understand their plight, we understand the problems that they've been going through.
Mr. Grant says it's also part of a concentrated program that will see a number of neighborhoods being assisted in addressing the issue of flooding.
Actually, they're supposed to start some work this week going into next week in Meadow Road. They're also going to be doing some clearing in Regent Hill, and they're also going to be doing some clearing of bush and refuge and stuff as well in Lower Burney.
One resident, Courtney Greenidge, shared his delight that the road is finally being fixed.
The road is like impossible when the rain is fall. Sometimes they got 4 and 5 feet of water, so if I out, I can't get in, not the next day when the rain come down. So, it's a pleasure to have it done by Mr. Grant.
Meanwhile, Mr. Grant says both the Barbados Labour Party and the Democratic Labour Party are guilty of neglecting the constituency over the years, and he's assuring them that under him, they can expect better. Kareem Smith, CBC News.
One of the leading tourism players in Barbados is worried the South Coast sewage problem could prove to be disastrous for the island's main economic driver. The Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association expressed this fear in a statement issued today. And against that background, the BHTA wants a senior government official to take the lead in managing the situation. Kent Jerson has that story.
The BHTA says it truly believes the South Coast sewage problem has deteriorated to the point where it is critical for government to view it as a national crisis. A statement from CEO Rudy Grant says they also believe the time has come for a senior government official to take the lead in terms of the day-to-day management of this crisis. He points out the situation is affecting residents, schools, businesses, and visitors to the island. Mr. Grant says many of the BHTA's hotel and restaurant members between the stretch of road from Lanters Mall, Hastings, to Worthing are at their wits' end about the increased overflows from manholes in those areas. While acknowledging the Barbados Water Authority's efforts to remedy the situation, he says there appears to be a number of factors inhibiting the implementation of identified solutions. According to him, if not remedied soon, the end result could prove disastrous for the future of the industry, as well as Barbados as an attractive and desired destination. Mr. Grant says the BHTA remains willing to continue working with the relevant authorities to find solutions to this crisis and to provide appropriate support where possible. Kent Jerson, CBC News.
Thanks, Kent. Well, a greater effort should have been made to inform the public on the amendment of the Road Traffic Act to prohibit motorists from driving or operating a vehicle while holding and using a cellular phone. Creative marketing consultant and director of Fun and Son Publishing, Robert Pitcher, believes that Barbadians did not have enough time before the new law came into effect.
I think that when this act was implemented, that some time should have been given for the population of this country to either read it, hear it, or hear it from somebody else who would have read it before they start putting down fines on people. It is harsh in this day and age for a guy to pick up $1,000 to pay for the cell phone for that charge that he just appeared under. I think it was a little bit on the harsh and the rash side from the magistrate or whoever slapped the fine on him.
And another director of Fun and Son Publishing, Courtney Holder, says that government should remove the duties on Bluetooth devices for vehicles so Barbadians have no excuse for driving and handling mobile phones.
Basically, this is for the people who spend a lot of time on the road. There are a lot of salesmen out there, there are taxi drivers, there are service industry people, and they depend on their phone. So although what Mr. Pitcher said is true, that you should pull over and stop, there is not always a convenient area in which to do that. And service industry is tight. You don't want to lose that call because they'll call somebody else. You know, so that's what I'm saying. Just give them a break somehow, that they have no excuse.
In an effort to make visitors and locals more aware of the various events across the island, a new app has been launched. The My Barbados mobile app has been created by the Barbados Tourism Product Authority. Speaking during the launch at the new Regis Business Complex, Chief Executive Officer Dr. Kerry Hall says they wanted to be able to reach people directly. She says it is hoped they will be able to generate a greater spend by encouraging people to go out to the events.
We found at the BTPA we're putting on a lot of different events. Not only that, we were going to a lot of local events, like our events will be like Spice Down Sizzling, Come Town, Sugar and Rum Season, etc. Local events such as Mahala's Corner or NIFCA, Christmas Jazz, etc. Where high quality Barbadian entertainment was being provided. And when you looked around, we didn't see our visitors. And we realized that we had to reach them directly, cut out the middleman and go directly to consumer.
Dr. Hall says the app, which is available on Google Play and the Apple App Store, is a work in progress.
So even though there's a lot of information on the app, that's not the end all be all. Always a journey, never a destination. The app will be consistently updated when new products and services, etc. come on stream. They'll be put on the app in real time.
The Royal Barbados Police Force is the latest beneficiary of a timely donation from the People's Republic of China. This morning at police headquarters on Roebuck Street, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary Jan Shi Wu Sheng presented Commissioner of Police Tyrone Griffith with 2 brand new Segways. The donation carries a price tag of 4,000 Barbados dollars, and Commissioner Griffith says they will help to enhance police presence and capabilities, especially in tourist areas. Now, Ambassador Jiang Shi Wu Sheng says Barbados is a top tourist destination, and he hoped they would further support the police force with carrying out its duty.
The Thinking Day, Girl Guides reflected on what it means.
Now, as Girl Scouts, local girls become part of a special group of girls that stretches across the world. And yesterday, Barbados joined with other associations across the globe in celebrating World Thinking Day. During the day, girls celebrated the world over by doing the same activities, as we hear from Lisa Lord.
On World Thinking Day, Girl Guides reflected on what it means to make an impact on the world and celebrate being part of the global sisterhood. A church service was held at the St. Mary's Anglican Church, attended by hundreds of blossoms, brownies, guides and rangers. And in keeping with the theme, Impact for Her World, Barbadians were reminded that young people mimic what they see and they must set high standards. President of the Girl Guides Association of Barbados, Lieutenant Colonel Athleen Branch, says the spoken word is important.
There should be no distinction among our leaders as perceived by the girls and young women. The message sent should be consistent. If they see and hear one, they should see and hear all. When it comes to guiding matters, when one leader is asked a question, the response given should be the same or very similar from other leaders. And the same way that we insist on standards for the girls, for example, in attending meetings in full uniform, the same is expected of our leaders. What message is being sent when you, the leaders, do not set the example and attend meetings in the recognized uniform?
As the Girl Guides Association prepares to mark its 100th anniversary, Lieutenant Colonel Branch acknowledged that they are competing for the attention and time of girls. She wants to see the membership grow and encouraged the guides and brownies to assist in this regard.
What I would like to do is to give a challenge for each of you to invite one person to join so that the membership can increase 100-fold during this year. I would like us all to make this commitment. This is one way in which you can have an impact. To the parents and guardians, I want to encourage you to keep your children in organizations like the Girl Guides. There is truth in the saying that the devil finds work for idle hands. And I find that at times there is too much choice given to young people.
The Ministry of Culture, Sports and Youth says the association in its 99 years has had an impact on the lives of many. Acting Permanent Secretary Mark Cummins says the local branch offers programs in life skills and development.
These activities will certainly help to instill in our girls and young women a sense of belonging, identity and purpose. These ingredients are very necessary for the imparting of the norms and the values of society in our youth as they proceed along the pathway to adulthood. Today we hear so much about the lack of direction of some of our youth and the negative behavior they exhibit. I believe that involvement in organizations such as Girl Guides will assist them tremendously as they seek to become productive citizens.
February 22nd is World Thinking Day. It was chosen as it was the birthday of Scouting and Guiding founder Lord Robert Baden-Powell and of Lady Olive Baden-Powell, his wife and World Chief Guide. Other Scouts celebrate it as BP Day or Founders Day. Lisa Lord, CBC News.
Across the Caribbean, brought to you by CIBC First Caribbean.
Welcome back. We'll top in the news from the region. In Guyana, Rastafarians are continuing to push for decriminalization of marijuana. Dozens of them staged a march to push their call.
The core of their grievances is the administration's apparent reluctance to revisit the Psychotropic Substances Act, which has criminalized thousands of Rastafarians, and the continual referral in the House of a motion which supports the decriminalization of small amounts of ganja. The approximately 3-hour march trudged along the East Coast Embankment Road into the city and paused at the official entrance of the Ministry of the Presidency, where approximately 200 devoted Rastafarians chanted with their banners. Reliable sources have indicated to Nightly News that ganja offenders make up a significant proportion of the jail population in Guyana, and Rastafarians who use the herb illegally and end up in the prison system cost taxpayers approximately $1 million per annum per prisoner. That's a sizable chunk of the budgetary allocation of the Ministry of Public Security. According to President of the Rastafarian Council of Guyana, Ras Simeon, Guyanese Rastafarians are being deprived of their rights while the burden is on the shoulders of taxpayers.
We would like to say to the authorities that they must review the subtropic and narcotic law and give Rastafari nation 2 ounces of marijuana to practice the culture outwardly, to acknowledge and recognize the Rastafari community as a religion and change the laws of the land that bar I&I from practicing the culture and putting we in prison for marijuana. We are asking the government to review the narcotic law, right, and decriminalize marijuana by giving the Rastafari community the rights to the sacramental use of the holy herb. This is why I'm demanding from the government this day as a religious community that contributing to national service.
The Rastafarian Council is also backing a motion that was laid in the National Assembly by AFC parliamentarian Michael Carrington, which essentially seeks the decriminalization of small amounts of ganja.
As Guyana moves to develop its oil sector, there are fears the agriculture sector will be in trouble as workers gravitate to that sector. We have a report from HGP TV.
Inevitably, unless there are significant changes in Guyana's agriculture sector, there will be a large movement of labor from the sector. This will affect the agenda of eliminating poverty and hunger in Guyana, as well as result in other serious effects on the country's development, says the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization FAO representative to Guyana, Ruben Robertson.
The movement of labor from a highly labor-intensive agriculture to more lucrative paying jobs could create shortages of labor for agriculture production in a sector which is already plagued with aging population, low productivity, and one which requires creativity and incentives to stimulate young people to become involved.
Mr. Robertson's remarks came during a recent workshop aimed towards eliminating hunger and poverty in Guyana and the region. According to Mr. Robertson, the agriculture sector in Guyana needs to be more responsive, efficient, productive, and inclusive through the establishment of more intensive sustainable food systems to help reduce greenhouse gas emissions and contribute to the country becoming the first green state in the region. If not, Guyana will be in serious trouble.
Serious negative impacts can arise, such as increases in the food import bill, increases in food insecurity, increase in poverty due to inequality and exclusion of sectors of society, and increased rural-urban migration, just to name a few of these challenges. We have very little time, less than 20 months, to strengthen existing systems.
The United Nations FAO rep added that in light of this, it is imperative to have partnerships with universities, businesses, and other agencies to improve the sector.
To find new approaches to agriculture and rural development in Guyana, if we are to fight inequality, overcome poverty, position the country to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, and have a competitive and sustainable agriculture in a green state.
Health officials in Trinidad and Tobago have distributed over 20,000 flu vaccines. Minister of Health Terence Della Singh maintains that despite fake news on a lack of vaccines in the country, the ministry is doing its part to ensure the population is well informed with regards to the importance of vaccination. We hear more in this report from CTV.
You have to recognize that all the good work you do could be easily unraveled by misinformation. And we have to look at what happened in the Islamic countries when certain Islamic scholars saw or deemed it fit to link the polio vaccine to some plot by Western countries to affect their religion, and which was entirely untrue.
The World Health Organization stated that vaccines prevent 2 to 3 million deaths of all ages.
Minister Diyal Singh said to date, over 20,000 flu vaccine doses have been given out.
We have given out so far for this year 25,000 doses. Is that we need to have an education program across the Caribbean as we mount this response to the influenza virus about the differences between the common cold, which we are not vaccinating you against, and the influenza virus. Because when you look at what is happening in the United States and England, their A&Es are actually buckling under the weight of influenza virus.
Well, a glimpse into the world of sports is just ahead with Sean Green, but first, here's a tip from Cooperators General Insurance.
This tip of the day is brought to you by Cooperators General Insurance Company Limited. Insurance the way you want it to be.
Anti-doping rule violations number 3. Doping is defined as refusing to undertake a drug test when notified by official doping control personnel. This fact is brought to you compliments the National Anti-Doping Commission.